For the past 40 plus years, if you were looking for the ultimate super sedan that can embarrass most sports cars, you were looking at a BMW M5. Just like its smaller M3 sibling, this high-powered sedan has always been able to offer enough room for your family while demolishing your favorite track or back road. Now, the previous generation M5 was still a beastly machine, but it was starting to get a little left behind in terms of power and speed, especially when you compared it to some fully electric rivals. So for 2025, BMW is introducing an all-new 7th generation M5. It's known internally as the G90, and this also marks the first time that BMW has put a plug-in hybrid twin-turbo V8 powertrain under the hood, giving this M5 up to 717 horsepower, making it the most powerful version that BMW has ever created. So as you can see, this week we are here in Spartanburg, South Carolina, because we're finally getting a chance to drive the US spec version of the all-new M5, and the big question I want to answer for those of you who are looking for a super sedan that can embarrass most sports cars, and you're not quite ready to take the full leap into a fully electric vehicle, how does the latest version of the BMW M5 stack up? Stay tuned to find out. So before we start talking about the exterior styling touches that are unique for the M5, I thought I'd pop the hood and show you guys what's powering this thing, because this is the ultimate version of the 5 Series, and this is where you're going to find a beastly engine. It's the same twin turbocharged 4.4 liter V8 hooked up to an electric motor that we've kind of seen in the BMW XM. Now, the M5 has had a 4.4 liter twin turbo V8 for a few years now, or a few generations. However, in this application, it makes it the most powerful version of the M5 ever. And keep in mind, there's also going to be an even quicker and higher performing and more powerful competition model, which we haven't actually seen just yet, but we know it's probably coming. The regular M5, however, now pairs a 4.4 liter gasoline direct injection twin turbocharged double overhead cam V8. The V8 on its own delivers around 577 horsepower and 553 pound-feet of torque. It's augmented by an electric motor that is sandwiched between the 8-speed automatic transmission and the 4.4 liter V8. On its own, the electric motor delivers around 194 horsepower and 207 pound-feet of torque. That can be increased to 332 for brief moments to essentially allow this vehicle to drive on pure electricity for up to 27 miles, because it draws its power from a 14.8 kilowatt-hour battery pack. The transmission is an 8-speed M-tuned automatic transmission built by ZF, and all M5s come with the company's latest xDrive all-wheel drive system, which does give you the ability to actually decouple the front axle to make this vehicle rear-wheel drive, so you can do burnouts, so you can do power slides and whatnot. Fuel economy, BMW says this model is rated at 14 city combined. That is the gas only MPG. If you guys have the battery charged, the EPA says it'll do 50 MPGe, which that number to me doesn't really mean much. But basically, with its 15.9 gallon fuel tank on premium gas, the gas-only range is a pretty paltry 220-ish miles, plus the 27 miles, you're looking at around 250 total miles of range, which I'll have to test out at some point. Now, this vehicle, BMW says, is capable of hitting 60 in 3.4 seconds. It has a top speed with the driver's package of around 190 miles an hour, 155 if you guys don't get the driver's package. As this car sits, the big story, of course, with the new M5 and that big battery pack and the electric motor, this is a heavy beast weighing in at just under 5,400 pounds, about 1,000 pounds heavier than the old M5, but it also has around 100 more horsepower. The interesting twist about this being a plug-in hybrid is it's still hit with a $2,600 gas guzzler tax, which I wasn't expecting, but hey, you have to pay, of course, to play if you guys want something that's this powerful. So let's go ahead and close up the hood and talk about the exterior styling. Now, this particular one that I'm showing you is a individual color called Santorini Blue Metallic. It's an extra $5,000 extra if you guys want this bright blue. It actually looks really fantastic with the lines of the new M5. As you guys know, the new 5 Series was just introduced last year, and the M5 basically just pumps things up to like 11 or 12 with the exterior design. You can see the hood has the prerequisite creases and bulges with the big BMW logo, the big twin kidney grille with the gloss black, the actual air intakes, of course. It's got the M5 badge here off to the side. You've got your radar sensors for your adaptive cruise control, emergency lane keep assist, automatic braking. I don't love where the camera is placed. I don't know why BMW didn't want to just put it right here in the actual center. That kind of annoys my OCD. But you can see all M5s come with their full LED headlights, which have their sequential, not really sequential, they're fade in and out LED turn signals, LED daytime running lights, LED low and high beams. The front intake, as you can see, the grille has just been enlarged. This thing just basically eats things lungs as you drive down the road. There's also some functional air intakes there for allowing air to pass through to cool the brakes. And overall, the M5 is around 3 inches wider than a standard 5 Series, but it's also around 2.5 inches wider than the previous generation. So at just under 78 inches wide, this thing is properly low and properly menacing when you look at it from a dead on. Now moving around the side profile, you can see here in America, enthusiasts can rejoice because the M5 wagon is coming in the form of the Touring. Obviously, I'm showing you the sedan. I'm hoping I'll be able to show you guys a full review on the wagon sometime early next year. But at 200.6 inches long in the overall length with a 118.3 inch wheelbase, this new M5 is around 1.5 inches longer in the wheelbase, but a whopping almost 5 inches longer than the previous generation M5. So they've made this vehicle significantly larger. There was a time where this vehicle's length was a 7 Series, so it kind of shows you how big vehicles have become. These are the standard 951 wheels with the kind of two-tone design with the machine, with the glossy gray. My test car has the optional M carbon ceramic brakes for $8,500. You have a massive, I mean massive, 16.5 inch rotor at the front, clamped down by 6 piston gold painted calipers. That's how you know you have the Brembo or the carbon ceramics from the gold. The tire size is a 285 by 40 ZR20, a Hankook Ventus summer performance tires, a 20-inch wheel at the front. You have a fatter 295 on a 21-inch wheel at the back. So again, staggered setup. Even though this is an all-wheel drive vehicle, it's still going to be rear bias. This is the charge port door where you charge the vehicle. I'm having trouble getting this to open, not entirely sure why, but the vehicle has a 7.4 kilowatt onboard charger. And again, like I said, the EPA rates it at 27 miles of pure electric range. You could probably plug this vehicle in from empty to full at a level 2 in about 4 to 5 hours. So not the quickest, but also not the slowest charging. You can see my test car also has the carbon package for an extra $3,100. It includes the carbon fiber caps along with the front splitter. These are the M-specific mirrors, which are power folding, integrated turn signals, cameras throughout, and then it also includes the carbon fiber roof, which helps to save 66 pounds. Hey, I mean, it's a 5,400 pound vehicle, but every weight, every pound counts, right? And then looking at the rest of the profile, you can see very traditional 3-box design for a sedan. I think it also looks fantastic, especially in the right colors, but I personally would go with the wagon. The wagon's just an extra $2,000 more for me, for the extra practicality and the extra, good looks of it. You can see looking at the rear, that traditional 5 Series sedan styling carries over, but I really love how wide and low this vehicle is compared to the standard model. You can see the carbon package includes the carbon fiber rear spoiler. At the back, it's a tasteful deck lid spoiler. There's a blacked out M5 badge over here. The taillights, again, are full LEDs, but I really would like to see BMW do a sequential LED. You can see down there are the reflectors, and then being an M5, you have a really aggressive looking rear diffuser. Your reverse light is located down there, and then you can see the quad outlet exhaust tips. BMW says they've tuned the exhaust for this new powertrain and for this new M5 to sound really aggressive, which I'll go ahead and fire it up. You can hear how it sounds real quick. Gotta love a V8. For those of you who are coming from a really fast Tesla, you just can't beat the sound of that. So really bravo the fact that BMW is still putting a V8 with a plug-in hybrid powertrain. Those 4-inch tips also look really good if you guys prefer a traditional quad exhaust setup. Now, looking at the cargo capacity, you can see the sedan M5 offers a pretty generous 16.5 cubic feet of space. Now, obviously, if you want more, you can go for the wagon version, which I personally would do. There are these hinges that don't encrush your cargo because there's a little cutout for them. You can see the seats do fold down in like a 20-40 manner, which is kind of nice. I remember when performance vehicles didn't offer a fold down seat. You can see underneath this area here, I actually thought this would lift up, but it looks like it does not. Instead, you have a really low floor here with these kind of high walls, but overall the trunk area is surprisingly usable. But again, if you want more space, be sure to buy the wagon version for a little bit more. So on the outside, the new M5 is definitely a stately looking sedan, but the interior is also where BMW has made some nice updates to the interior versus the previous generation in a regular 5 Series. Before we get inside, however, let me show you guys the key fob. You can see this is the Smart Key Intelligent Access key that BMW includes on all M5s. It has the signature M colors. It's BMW's latest key. You can see there is remote start from the fob. If you push the lock button 3 times, it'll activate the remote start. It also has the lock and unlock buttons, the remote open for the trunk, and your panic feature. BMW also allows you to use your phone as a key and a credit card key card as well, so it's got all the usual tech that you expect. This vehicle also comes with a walk-away lock and auto lock function, which is definitely nice. If you touch this area here, if you don't have the walkway stuff turned on or off. You can see that locks the door for you. And then when you unlock the door, just touch the back of the door handle. That is what unlocks the door for you as well. And you can also set those mirrors to fold in and out as well. Now, looking at the interior, my particular test car has a really cool color combination. This is the Kailami orange full merino leather interior. It's kind of got like a two-tone look. These are the M specific upgraded sport seats, although they're not the full-on carbon buckets like you might find on like an M3 or M4 competition. These seats are heated and ventilated and adjust, I believe, in 14 different ways. Surprisingly, no massage function on the seats, which kind of would have been nice. You do have a two-person memory. Thankfully, this full merino upgraded leather is actually standard. You don't have to pay extra for this upgraded leather interior color. And I have to say, it is definitely a bright orange. It looks great, however, but I personally would probably go with the Isle of Man green, which is technically a free color, as opposed to this $5,000 Santorini blue color, which is nice. I just think it's a little pricey. You can see the upper portion of the door panel is covered in a soft touch injection molded plastic. You also have the upgraded Bowers & Wilkins stereo for an extra, or actually no, it's actually included. It has 18 speakers and it sounds great. If you guys are tired of listening to the engine, you can see the interaction light bar that lights that up here, along with on the dashboard. You can see the door handle is aluminum accented. You have leather over here. You have these really high quality window switches, which are one touch up and down, although I'm surprised they're not accented in metal. Down here on the lower portion, you can see this is a slightly padded material, but it could be softer or stitched in leather. So the door panel could be a little bit nicer looking. Considering the price point of this vehicle. You can see this is the upgraded carbon fiber for an extra $300, and it looks great with the rest of the interior. Now, stepping inside, you can see the M5 has that typical low step-in height, although the higher roof line of this vehicle definitely makes it so you have a little bit more headroom. As I get in and shut the door is built off of the very scalable cluster platform, and it sounds pretty solid, although the one thing I'm surprised about is my test car has the executive package, but it doesn't have a soft close feature for the door. That's really infuriating, considering most of the rivals like the RS7 has that. I think that's a silly omission that BMW kind of forgot to add. Now, getting inside, you can see if you guys have been in the latest 5 Series, this interior is going to look pretty familiar. When you start the vehicle up, start-stop button is red, located right here by the shifter. And you can see it has that Hans Zimmerman's iconic sounds when the vehicle starts up. Obviously no engine starter noise because this is a plug-in hybrid, and you can actually set it to default to electric mode, which is kind of crazy. The steering wheel is unique to the M5 with its flat bottom design. Love the M colors. It's a nice thick rim steering wheel with these carbon fiber. Actually, are they carbon fiber or they're just plastic? I think they're just plastic paddles, although they definitely look nice with the M1 and M2 drive pre-selected drive modes. You can see the steering wheel itself is a power tilt telescoping, which offers a good amount of adjustability and range. My test car also has the driver assistance package, where it also has those little status light bars when you have your cruise control on. You also have the heads-up display, part of the executive package, along with an interior camera system, which basically allows you to take selfies, I believe, in this interior. And then, of course, the infotainment system. This is their iDrive 8.5, so it's not their newest iDrive 9 that we're going to show you guys in the new X3, for example, but you can see you have a 12.3-inch fully digital cluster here, and you have a 14.9-inch display here, which also includes wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You can see BMW's system does take a little bit of getting used to. There's a learning curve here, but you can also go into the BMW apps and download some of your favorite apps. You can go into your drive mode selector. Obviously, you can change your interior lighting with the ambient lighting, and part of the interaction bar here just looks fantastic at night. And if I put the vehicle into reverse, you can see there's your full 360 camera with a top-down view. And again, it makes a sound on the outside to let people know that you're backing up, and that's because this vehicle is in its pure EV mode. Your drive mode selector is over here. You can see, push that, you can access things going between a road and a sport setting here. You can see going to the sport, it changes the way the gauge display looks, which I kind of like the way that looked. Actually, click the M hybrid. You can see there's hybrid, electric, and then E-Control. E-Control allows you to basically store what energy you have left in the battery pack to save for later usage. Going back to the M mode here, you can see there's the road look, and then there's the sport look. So kind of an interesting design. You can see push the M button here, it goes into a pre-selected M mode, which you guys heard, the engine starts right up. M2 is the most aggressive, which you can basically pre-select all your different settings. It does actually create a phony sound as well through the speakers, but you guys heard there's a little bit of a burble from the exhaust, which I definitely appreciate. So very excited to get this vehicle out on the road. It also changes the way the interaction bar looks as well. which is kind of, again, a really nice touch. This software for the infotainment system, I've shown you guys this before, so if you want to see a little bit more details on it, you can click on the link in the description below. We'll include another BMW video that has this latest infotainment system. Now you can see, I don't love the way the dash vents work. You can see there's a little, like a little rubbery dial here that you can kind of manipulate to tell where you want the manual airflow to go. The air vents are located here and in that little slit over there. I don't love that. I much prefer what BMW has in the X5, for example, with the little joystick where you can adjust the airflow. You can see there's your wireless phone charging pad. You have piano black plastic here. There's some hard plastic over here. This, again, should be, I think, stitched in leather, so I don't like how this is a little bit on the cheaper side. More piano black here. You can see there's your transmission selector. It's this little toggle where if I push it all the way down, it goes into sport, kick it all the way up to go to reverse, and then push the P button here to go to park. Again, I mentioned earlier, drive mode selectors here. There's the iDrive controller here. If you guys don't want to get your screen covered up in fingerprints, you can use this kind of crystal rotary knob, which is kind of nice. It has, again, the M logo there to let you know you've got a special BMW. You can see nice and padded armrest over here. If I open this up, you can see a little bit shallow in terms of storage, but you can see there's the digital key. You have a 12-volt power outlet there, and you can see there's also a glove box opening there. And then in terms of USBs, the USBs are right here in the cup holder, so you have 2 USB-Cs. And then if you push that, you can see the glove compartment is damped and lined with felt. It's a bin style. It offers a decent amount of storage. And then the seats, this M5 logo lights up at night. They look fantastic. You can also move up and down the headrest, I believe. They're a power adjustment. You can see the seats. They hold you in place nicely, but the leather feels really good. They're also pretty comfortable. The seat belts also have the M colors, as you can see over there, which is definitely nice. Then in terms of the rear view mirror, you can see it's an auto dimming frameless, although no digital camera rear view mirror. You have your LED map lighting in here. You have lots of Alcantara material on the headliner and on the pillars, as you can see. And without the sunroof, it definitely gives you a little bit more of a carve out here, so you have additional headroom. But I personally would like the sunroof back just to add some more light. But overall, this interior is pretty similar to, a regular 5 Series, but there are some M specifics here. It definitely feels relatively well made. Material quality could be nicer because, as you can see, this is a soft touch plastic material here, but I would like to see more exposed leather stitching, especially along the dash, the door panel along this area here, but at least everything feels nice and solidly made. There's metal speaker covers for the audio system as well, which is nice. But overall, if you guys are craving a more luxurious feeling cabin, Mercedes may have your number, of course, whenever the latest generation E-Class comes out with the AMG model. But let's go ahead and hop into the backseat area. I can show you guys what that space is like. Now, this is a 5 Series based vehicle, so you do have obviously more legroom than an M3. BMW says you get around 36.5 inches of legroom back here. You can see that beautiful orange and black interior carries over back here, which is really nice with the contrast stitch. You can see the upper portion of the door panel here has some soft touch injection molded plastic, more of that leather here. Down here, it's also slightly padded as well. Window controls, one touch up down for the rears as well, which is a feature that you kind of expect. And then getting back here, you can see this is pretty much where I'd have the seat to drive in my driving position. As I shut the door, has that same solid sounding thunk. And while there are vehicles that have a little bit more rear seat legroom, this is actually still pretty darn good. You can see the executive package includes these manual retractable shades, which I happen to really love, although I think they should be power considering the price point. You have a really nice little area here where you could basically put in a rear seat entertainment system. You have a USB port already built into the seat. Same thing on the other side over here. You have rear seat air vents. You have quad zone climate control, which is nice to see. There's also 3-level heated seats, but no cooled seats back here. That would have been nice considering the price point. You can see fold this down. There's an armrest with 2 cup holders, which is nice. I also like the way the headrests look. They feel nice and plush. The leather here also feels high quality as well. And then in terms of the headroom space, you can see headroom. I have a solid maybe 2 inches of additional clearance. So if you plan to use this as a family vehicle, again, the M5 offers a ton of space back here, although again, you might want to consider an X5M competition if you do require even more space. So here we are behind the wheel of the all-new 2025 BMW M5. This is definitely a strange proposition here to be driving around in a 700 plus horsepower super sedan in pure EV mode. That's right, this vehicle will default to its pure electric setting if you guys want it to do so. Even though I'm sitting here driving in the stiffest M2 drive mode, it is driving around utilizing that basically 15 kilowatt hour battery pack. And remember, the electric motor on its own delivers only around 194 horsepower and 207 pound-feet of torque. That's definitely not a lot, but it has enough power so this thing can toot around town in pure EV mode, which is kind of a good thing because the old M5 was just a gas-guzzling beast. Every time you basically drove it around in around town, which is what most people were doing, it was guzzling gas. So it's kind of nice to have the ability to drive in pure EV mode or put it in hybrid mode. And this is where the vehicle also kind of gives you some regenerative braking. So that helps to put some energy back into the battery, and it also helps to allow the vehicle to slow down on its own so you don't have to be using those brakes so much. Although the carbon ceramics, they are very, very effective, but they're also a little bit on the grabbier side. Now, tootling around here around town, this vehicle is equipped with a 20-inch wheel at the front, a 21-inch wheel at the back. It definitely has a fat tire, and it feels really low. It feels really wide. So surprisingly, I will say the adaptive dampers on this M5 transmit into a really good, decent ride quality. You know, the last BMW M product that I drove that had this plug-in hybrid powertrain was the XM, and that thing rode like absolute shit. I'm just gonna be blunt about it. It rode horribly. I haven't had a chance to have one for a full week to test just yet, but this M5 definitely has a much smoother ride. It kind of feels more like the ride quality in a BMW X5M competition, but you know what? Even the X5M competition, when I had that vehicle for a full week, I noticed that it also had a little bit of a stiffer ride quality. Now, granted, that model was riding on 22-inch wheels. A smaller 20 and a 21-inch wheel is definitely much preferred over a 22. But, you know, for a vehicle that also weighs around 5,400 pounds, BMW does a phenomenal job at hiding the weight of this car. And that's kind of what I was expecting as well. Because even though, you know, everything is getting heavier, they're getting kind of crazy in terms of the weight because of the electrification, that is okay with me as long as you can kind of make the vehicle not feel as heavy when you're actually behind the road. But let's go ahead and get out on this open road here. Holy... okay, wow. I had it in its manual mode there. It actually will not, it'll bounce off the limiter, which is kind of unexpected in this car, but holy smokes, this thing is fast. You can feel the electric motor kind of adding its torque while you're waiting for the turbos to spool up, and that's part of the reason why a lot of these high-performance machines are going to plug-in hybrids, because you need that additional, you know, electric motor grunt to kind of fill in the gaps. I mean, when you put your foot down, this 8-speed auto, holy as crap, it's fast. This thing feels properly, you know, batshit crazy quick. I mean, 0 to 60 BMW claims is 3.4 seconds. I estimate that time is probably on the conservative side. BMWs tend to be pretty conservative. I mean, the last, you know, X5M competition that I tested, I think did it in around 3.4 seconds. Now that is granted a heavier and bigger vehicle, but still, this car makes a great first impression. It reminds you again that it's a BMW first. It's supposed to be a luxury sedan first, but then when you put your foot down, it certainly has the performance to please the M badges that you're gonna see all over the car. Ooh. This thing definitely gives you tunnel vision. I was expecting it to be fast, but also not that fast. But let's try a quick little 0 to 60 run here. We'll brake torque it. Launch control. Oh! Oh my God! 3.28 seconds there. 3.28 seconds. Now granted, it is a little bit uphill, and you guys also notice the front wheels are struggling for traction a bit, and that's because the tires are cold. This thing rockets off the line. I mean, although that time is a little bit slower than the last RS7 performance that I tested, let's try one more run here, because I think I can actually do better. Oh! Oh my God, this thing is so freaking fast. 3.35 seconds there, 3.35. Now, that's with it on pretty level surface. Again, that time is slower versus the last RS7 performance that I tested and an AMG GT63 SE performance. That doesn't surprise me because, again, I'm gonna have to wait until I get one back home to test out where we can get the tires to warm up, where I can spend a little bit more time with the vehicle. But just on my initial impression, my first run, this definitely has the punch that I was expecting it to have. I mean, when you have an electric motor kind of adding in the torque, filling in those gaps, you don't have to wait so much for the turbochargers to spool up. There's no lag. And then when you have all-wheel drive, I wasn't expecting the front to slip as it does, but wow, it is shockingly insane. This thing gives you tunnel vision. It makes you feel like your stomach is kind of left in the back seat. But at the same time, even in this, harshest setting, the M2 mode with its stiffest suspension setting, most aggressive transmission setting, it actually still doesn't feel all that bad to daily drive. Now, most of you will probably just leave it in its M1 setting, and in the M1 setting here, it definitely allows you to kind of more comfortably daily drive this vehicle. The ride quality you can kind of custom tailor. I have the suspension in its comfort setting, but the steering's in sport, the exhaust is on, the brakes are in sport. It also comes with the regen braking as well, where you can set it between like off, minimum, middle, and then there's the max regen mode, which the max regen does give you a fairly good amount of regen ability. That was the forward collision alert because this silly Lexus decided not to run the light, even though it was technically still yellow. But overall, the seats are also pretty comfortable. I like how these hold you in place nicely, but they also don't feel too constrictive. I mean, some of these sport seats, like for example, the M carbon bucket seats with their little ball crusher that you find in the actual seat bottom cushion, I hate those seats, but glad to see BMW didn't put those seats on this vehicle. But overall, it just feels very much like I'm in a regular 5 Series until you put your foot down. In terms of the sound of this engine, I do appreciate the V8. It's very much a German muscle car in its feel. It's not overbearing like some of these American, V8s with their superchargers and whatnot. But at the same time, it has that nice guttural sound that reminds you you're driving something classy. You're driving something powerful. You're driving something that can put a huge smile on your face and blow the doors off of mostly anybody next to you, except for even those quick EVs. This is not going to be as fast, obviously, as those EVs, but it is still nicely effective at putting a huge smile on your face. Ooh. Now, every time you put it into M mode, it actually puts it automatically into its manual shift programming, which, as you guys see, it doesn't let you actually shift when you're in manual mode. Now, this vehicle, even when you're not using the launch control, still will shove you back in the seat quite nicely. Again, I mentioned the electric motor adds all of its torque instantaneously while you wait for those turbos to spool up. And I have to say, they've tuned the powertrain response to be quite nice in this vehicle. Along with the regen braking, I like the minimal amount that it gives you. It kind of helps to slow you down, but it's also easy to be relatively smooth in this car. And that's kind of difficult to do. When I first drove the XM, I thought that vehicle I found it to be extremely jarring and a little bit unrefined. So driving this around, I'm impressed. I'm very much impressed. Now, obviously, I'll have to wait until I get one back home to test out the electric-only range and to test out the fuel economy of this powertrain in the real-world applications. But just on my initial drive here, the M5's weight is surprisingly well managed. It's hidden. You wouldn't be able to tell this vehicle weighs over 5,000 pounds. It still rides really well. It's nice and quiet. There's not a single squeak and rattle, and it also still delivers effective performance, getting you to 60 in that 3 to low 3 second mark, which again, there's a competition version coming eventually, and I wouldn't be surprised to see BMW ramp that power and ramp that speed up to get a sub 3 second 0 to 60 run. So after finally getting a chance to drive the all-new 7th generation BMW M5, I have to say this has been a real treat because as an enthusiast, I always love vehicles like this. This is a car that can easily keep up with your favorite sports car on a back road or on a track, but it gives you that practicality that you need in terms of space in the front and the rear. And of course, if you guys go for that wagon, the wagon now gives you the utility of most SUVs, which is kind of crazy to think. Now, obviously, this new M5 was a little controversial when it first came out because of all the weight that BMW has added. But obviously, when you add a plug-in hybrid powertrain with the bigger battery pack, the electric motor, this thing delivers the power that's going to basically be face distorting. I mean, in this space, I've tested vehicles like the Audi RS7 Performance, which is one of the quickest accelerating vehicles, doing it in around 3 seconds. There's the AMG GT 4-door 63E Performance, which technically is a class above this. Whenever the E63 SE Performance comes out, which we haven't seen full specs on that vehicle yet, that'll be the true direct rival to the M5. The Mercedes is just godly powerful. The Audi is also powerful, but this kind of slots nicely in the middle with its 717 horsepower. I'll have to wait until I get one back home to retest this vehicle to see what we can get in our actual testing on our usual stretch of road, because as you guys know, we got 2.7 seconds in the Mercedes and 3 seconds in the Audi. And this M5 is definitely going to fit nicely between those two vehicles. The interior is definitely overwhelming at first in terms of tech, but I love the interior of the new 5 Series with that interaction bar with the LED lighting, the comfortable seats which hug you in place nicely, the back seat which has a surprising amount of room. And this vehicle again is very stately, but it's also not, very shouty. It's a very understated type of muscle car, and I love the fact that BMW has made this thing a lot wider than the previous generation. Now, if you guys are looking to get your hands on the new M5, they are rolling into dealerships as we speak in November of this month, and pricing has already been announced. BMW says the new M5 will start at around $119,500, so basically 120 grand, which I know that is definitely not cheap, but if you guys are comparing it to its main rival, the Audi RS7 Performance, the Audi is actually almost $10,000 more. That's right, the Audi is almost 130 grand. We don't know the pricing yet of the new E63s E-Performance, but an AMG GT 4-door E-Performance starts at around $195,000. Now, my particular test car here with the $5,000 paint, the executive package, the carbon ceramic brakes, plus a couple of other options, and of course that gas guzzler tax, you're looking at a total price of around 146 grand, just over 146 grand. So again, almost 150 grand is certainly not cheap, but it is, again, kind of a bargain when you compare it to its Audi and upcoming Mercedes rival. So I think BMW has did a phenomenal job, and also keep in mind the wagon version of this car is only $2,000 more. So my recommendation, if you guys have the means to spend this kind of money on a super sedan that can embarrass a lot of sports cars and Teslas out on the road, you should definitely put one of these at the very top of your list. But hey, for me, get the wagon. The wagon is definitely worth the extra charge. With all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the brand new 2025 BMW M5. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.